So I have been listening to and participating in tarot readings for a while now. I even bought my own decks and I use it on myself. And I wanted to do a reading for the collective. And so what I prayed over before I pulled these cards was that whatever message comes through today is something that can help other people in a mindset of manifesting, whether that be love, whether that be success in a certain career endeavor or a new creative project. It's messages that can help us to manifest, because those are the type of vibes that I be on as well. So when thinking about this spread, the cards that I thought of as the signifier would be both the Magician and also the High Priestess. Because at first I was like, oh, Magician could be male or female. But then I was like, yeah, and High Priestess could be male or female as well. We all have both masculine and feminine energies. And so I think those two together make quite a lethal combination. The spread that I put together as I was going through this, I decided is called a Zodiac Spread. And basically what this does is it has a card pulled for each of our houses in astrology. There are 12 of them. And so it allows us to think about the house, and it allows us to think about the energies that the card represents in that house. I also have a few different oracle cards. So the deck that I use for this spread is the Thoth Tarot. And the oracle decks that I'm using, because I'm going to pull out a message at the end from each of these oracle decks, and I can read you the guidebook if need be. Sacred Forest, Starseed, and Moonology. These cards came out yesterday as I was thinking about this reading, and I was like, well, actually, it's best practice in tarot if you don't pull the cards again for the same question. Otherwise, that can ruin the integrity of the process. So I decided to keep the cards the same. I have not decided what I'm gonna say in regards to these cards yet. I've just briefly glimpsed at them. And I do have my cheat sheet, and this is just on the zodiac houses so that I get them straight in my mind as to what they all are. The first house is always our rising sign. In my case, it's Virgo. In yours, it might be something different. I think that sign changes every 2 hours based on the time that you were born. But whatever house it falls into doesn't really matter, because the message that we got is the Major Arcana card number 14. So in some cases, this is called Temperance. This is Sagittarius energy. And in this case, the name of the card is called Art. And what this card is really all about is about looking at your situation and finding balance. So are you taking care of all parts of the business? Are you taking care of yourself personally? Are you looking at other factors that might be hidden? Making sure that everything is all in all balanced as you look at things. And it's from, I would say, either an objective or an informed mindset. The first card in house 1 is also in the 12 o'clock position. So whether that be midnight or 12 p.m. noon, it's in the 12 o'clock position. In the 1 o'clock position, this is our second house. And this is actually the house of material assets, of resources, and of finances. And funny enough, the card that came through is Major Arcana number 10, the Fortune card, otherwise known as the Wheel of Fortune. And what this card always reminds me of is that there are bigger forces at play that we can't always see or understand, but it is a sense of destiny in terms of you got to make sure that you're taking your action, right? But then at the end of the day, you got to let go and realize that there are bigger forces at play, and the universe is putting together something that's going to turn out in your favor. That's how I think about it when I think about the Wheel of Fortune. And it relates especially as we're talking about this house of material assets, wealth, finances, etc. Okay, in our third house, this is the house of communication, mental state, studies, environment is also a factor. We have the Five of Cups, which is disappointment in this case. That is what Thoth has labeled the card. And the fives can sometimes be tricky, right? Oftentimes the fives in tarot represent something that is not an ideal situation. And I heard another tarot reader describe this in a really beautiful way. She called the Five of Cups the junkyard of emotions. And so it really is oftentimes related to some sort of loss. And as it relates to this house of communication, mental state, environment, really it does bring me to the conclusion that maybe in this situation, whatever it is for you, it could be improved by better communication, because that's what this house is. And disappointment can sometimes be a lack of communication or a miscommunication, because we live in a world where people send texts and things can often be misinterpreted in written text because we don't have the opportunity to deliver the tone. So that's something that came through for me. Fourth house relates to home and to family. And in this case, we have received the Lover's card. This is another major arcana card. So represents again a major force at play. This is Gemini energy. It's called the Lovers. And sometimes it is about romantic love. Sometimes it's about the romantic love and making decisions in that. But other times it's just about choices in general. So as we think about home or family life, it can be in regards to where we want to be, where we want to spend our time, and where we want to live. Or maybe something else regarding choices about resources and where to put those resources. So I would say if it doesn't relate to you in the forms of a lover, I would say maybe look at the choices you're making in regards to finances and home life, and make sure that those are in alignment with your purpose and what you're doing. And house number 5 is about hobbies, pastimes, children, happiness. And the card that came out was actually Princess of Wands. And I think that is actually beautiful. So this Thoth deck actually gets rid of the king, and instead of the page, he has both a prince and a princess. So Princess of Wands is fire energy. It relates to being youthful, being open-minded. Remember when we were kids and we thought we could do anything in the world and nothing nobody said was going to stop us? We had this vision in our mind and we were not so easily swayed by what people think. Princess of Wands in this case gives me that same feeling of we gotta bring back and realize that we are still alive today. We are adults in most cases, but we can still have that childlike faith and belief that we can go after whatever we want to go after, because we are alive today and God has given us more time. And I think that's beautiful. So one cautionary thing with any of the pages, the prince or the princesses, I would say is always to make sure, even when we have those childlike dreams, we got to exercise wisdom and practicality. So that can oftentimes be a caveat of prince, princess, page type of energy. So I wanted to mention that as well. The 6th house often relates to jobs and occupation. And so in this case, and sometimes home life as well, actually, and what happens behind closed doors and our routines. All of that actually contributes to the sixth house. And in this case, the energy that I pulled for the sixth house is this Two of Swords energy. Two of Swords energy. It's a good card. It is called Peace in Thoth's version of the deck. And so this is air. Swords is an air suit. And usually this has to do with making some kind of decision as it relates to these things. So we had the Lovers in the previous house that talked about a decision. This is another indicator that we may be having to make a decision at this point in time as it relates to our routines, our everyday life, maybe what we're doing behind closed doors when we're in our private space, in our private time, or how we're investing our money. It could go back to that choice that is present in the Lover's card as well. The seventh house is related to love, relationships, partnerships. So this is the house of romance in my mind. And the card that came out for this one is the Six of Wands. This is very good energy. This card is also called Victory. So I would say if you're working towards a goal with somebody and you guys are trying to get in alignment and get it right, whether you've been taking some time apart, whether you're together now, or whether you're building towards something, I would say that victory, in whatever sense makes sense for your situation, can be very, very close by. Remember, this is a reading for the entire month of October. So even if we don't see it today, we might see it on October 15th or on October 16th or whatever day of the month, right? So this is the question that I prayed over as I was doing these cards. This card that I pulled in the eighth position, the eighth house, this relates to crisis, change, transformation. This is very difficult for us as humans to deal with, is change, crisis, and transformations. And I've had to kind of adapt as I go, especially with things changing so frequently and trying to adapt to the new set of circumstances that I find myself in as I build this. And so this came out as the Four of Cups. It's a beautiful card. In the Thoth Tarot, it's called Luxury. And so that brings a lot of beautiful things to mind. It can also, though, wait, hold on. Yeah, because this is Wands. So that brings a lot of beautiful things to mind, but also the Four of Cups in the traditional tarot is usually a man sitting in front of a tree and there's 3 cups that are spilled over and he's looking at another one. And so he's in this place of solitude and contemplation, reflecting on the past, can sometimes get a little nostalgic, a little bit sad. And so I would say with the Four of Cups, if you're sad in luxury, that's beautiful. But if you're just in reflection and trying to think about the next steps, it's like in a sense of let's look forward maybe and not so much in the past is what comes to mind about that. So it's about getting out of that in your head state. And I know I can get there a lot where I'm like in my head writing 100 things down. Did I make the right decision here? Did I make the right decision there? And letting yourself have the time to do that, but then being able to get out of that and move forward and take action again. So it's not a bad card. It's just kind of a mixed energy, the way that I see it. The ninth house is actually about spirituality, travel, dealing with foreign people, foreign languages, foreign countries. All of that type of energy is present in the ninth house. And the card that I pulled for this particular house is the Queen of Wands. And I love the Queen of Wands and the King of Wands. So she's very magnetic and she is able to get results. And she has this charisma about her that is really beautiful. So this is a fire energy, Leo, Sagittarius, Aries. Just because you might not have fire as your sun or your moon sign, you also likely have fire in other placements of your chart. So I would encourage anybody who hasn't done it already, if they have access to the details of their birth time and place, to go to cafeastrology.com, I think is the link. I can link it in the actual video, and pull your birth chart, because you'll learn a lot about yourself by pulling your birth chart. And it helps me to think about these different characters, these different suits, these different energies. The more that I learn about the astrology, the more that I learn about myself. So Queen of Wands energy, making things happen. Wands represent magic, and this is in the 9th house of travel, foreign places, foreign people. So it's about using your magic wherever you go, even when you're traveling and meeting new people. In the spot of the 10th house, which is our career, our social status, how we are seen in the world, but not how we present, that's first house, but how we're seen in terms of career in the world is our 10th house. And in this case, it is the 11 trump card. So again, another very strong major arcana force at play here. And so this card is represented by a lady on a lion. She is, I believe that's a lion. I haven't actually studied this version of the cards in a long time, so bear with me. But so she's, I don't know if I can show this. She's naked on the lion and she's kind of, looks like she's basking in luxury, and it's kind of beautiful, but it looks like she's carrying a wand, but it also has pentacles on it. The same, or maybe those aren't pentacles exactly. I'm gonna have to think about this a little bit. I was not prepared for that one. Hold on. Let me just 11. We're all learning here, right? So if I don't know something, I have no shame about looking it up. This might not make the final edit, but in the career, social status, 10th house, we got, in Thoth's version of the tarot, it's called lust, but actually it's the strength card in other tarot decks. And so the strength card obviously speaks for itself and is saying that we need to have strength in October as we endure the changes that are happening in our world, in astrology, in the planets. We need to carry that strength and that inner courage to face these changes and to change with the times and to achieve our career goals. We might not be where we want to be yet in terms of what we want to achieve. And so we have to keep strong in working towards those goals and enduring it, even if it seems like the light might be a little further down the end of the tunnel than we want to go, right? It's like we got to keep working until we reach that light, and we got to exercise strength in order to do so, a lot of inner strength. And so that's represented here by the lion. And then as we look at the 11th house, so this is really related to our social involvement, our community, our hopes, and our fears. And in the house 11, we have the Four of Pentacles. The Four of Pentacles. So Thoth calls this the power card, the power card. And so that sounds very positive. I know that there are some other more pessimistic interpretations of the card. So this Four of Discs is related to money. So discs, pentacles, coins. So sometimes what this card can mean is that we are being too frugal. We're being too conservative with our money. We're kind of hoarding it all away for ourselves, like the miserly card. But then the other interpretation of it can also be about spending too much, overspending, excesses when we don't have it all in the bank account. And so that card to me is a card again about balance, which is in our very first position, the first house here. It brings to mind balance, making sure that we are spending enough but not too much, and we are saving enough. This card to me says to keep an eye on spending in order to harness your power to its greatest potential. Make sure you're not being miserly, keeping it all for yourself, spending enough to make the right investments and the right moves, but that you're also not overspending. As somebody who studied finance in school and would have to take tests on it, I've always been, and also I am a sun sign, a Capricorn, which is a very pragmatic type of energy. It's an earth sign. So this kind of speaks my language. It's about staying in the right balance of resources in order to harness our own true power and yield the greatest results in the long term. Finally, okay, this house actually means a lot to me. I love it. This is the house of challenges, lessons that we must learn. Some call it the house of mystery. There's a little bit of mysteriousness that goes into it in the 12th house. And so in this position of the 12th house in this reading, I pulled the Sun card. And this is actually one of the most positive cards, optimistic cards, forward-thinking cards in the tarot deck. So I think this is a perfect place to end this zodiac spread on the Sun card. And as it relates to our mysteries, maybe it is time to bring some of them to light, put them out into the open. In terms of challenges, right? Maybe it is time for us to share things with other people that have challenged us along the way so that other people can learn from the lessons that we've already learned ourselves. Like, if I fucked up and I made a huge mistake and I can share it with you to avoid you having to do the same thing, I'm happy to do that because we're all connected in this world. Even if we might live in a different city, a different neighborhood, a different state or country even, we are all connected. And so when we bring these things to light, when we shine ourselves, when we share lessons and keep it real, I think it has the potential to help all of humanity. And so that is how I look at this tarot spread. A couple of other things here. So I did also pull a couple of cards that just happened to fall out. So the first is the Empress. So she's all about birthing, whether it be ideas, it could be a physical human, but she's also about birthing ideas. So I would say just let those seeds in your mind sprout and get ready to share them with the world because the world needs to hear them. I would say this next card that fell out, I can't remember the name of this deck, but this card happened to fall out as I was putting it away. I wasn't even going to use this deck and it fell out. It's the Healing Energy card. And so I feel like we are in a state of healing as a people. I think that we've endured a lot as a people, and I think we're all healing, and some are further along their journeys than others, but as long as we're living, we're always healing is what I believe. And so I think we just gotta have patience with people, show people kindness, and respect everyone on their healing journeys. And then I did decide in the theme of this month, so I just came out with a song called Suburban Shadow, and I have been learning about the shadow cards as part of a tarot spread. And so for whatever tarot spread you do, at the end of it, you can pull the bottom card of the deck take it out. It's called the shadow card. And this is to represent either an ending thought on the spread or some type of theme of the spread, or even a hidden message that maybe isn't so apparent in the thread that you need to pay attention to. So I did pull the bottom card as I laid out this spread, and it happened to be the Four of Wands, which represents completion. So again, this is a fire energy, and it's a very positive card. It's about finishing that project or finishing that engagement, maybe that contract or that thing you have going on with the person trying to meet a milestone, right? It's a card of completion, and I think it's something that is a beautiful energy, and I would say that it's kind of an overall theme. It kind of has elements more of an overall theme of the spread as opposed to some type of hidden message, right? And so the shadow card can be really helpful, I think, in just putting a period at the end of the sentence, if you will. Lastly, I want to pull cards from these 3 decks. So I have the Sacred Forest deck, I have the Starseed deck, and I have the Moonology deck. And I have already shuffled them, but I'm just going to pull one at random here. I'm just going to pick one. Oh, and a bunch of them fell out. But I'm just going to pick one for today. So this is the Ancient Oak Spirit. I'll just say, I don't know what it says in the guidebook. I'll take a look at it and read it to you possibly. But I would just say that I love the idea of old trees. And whenever I see them, I'm like, oh my gosh, they've been around so much longer than we have. Like, just imagine if these trees could talk, all the things that they would say that they've seen over the years, right? And so there's a lot of knowledge, I think, that are located in old trees. But let me just tell you what the guidebook says as well. So page 38 here. Walking softly into the forest, you can hear the deep, sonorous voice of the oak. When the great oak spirit speaks, the forest becomes still and listens. Although you may not be consciously aware of them, powerful and profound messages seep into your soul and can be felt in the core of your being. The message of this overall in the cards is, according to the guidebook, is the spirit of the ancient oak tree says, you are wise and strong beyond measure. You are wise and strong beyond measure. Stand firm and rooted where you are. Speak your truth. You are intuitively guided in the right direction. And I think this is a beautiful message because the wisdom source does lie all within each of us. And so I would say we all have to trust our intuition. Only you know what is the best thing for you. And don't let others who have an opinion about it throw you off course. Don't do that. Now, I'm going to pick this card from the Starseed deck. So the card that came out is, you're not alone. You are not alone. I believe we are all starseeds, and sometimes we can feel alone, especially if you're like me and you recharge in private, like an introvert. Sometimes you can feel a little bit alone, but again, we are all connected. None of us are alone, and we have to remember that we are all a part of this collective. And when any of us do better in the collective, it helps to raise all of us, is how I choose to think about it. I really do like this Starseed deck. So let me actually read the message from this guidebook as well. So you are not alone. The older the soul, the deeper the cave. Many starseeds and old souls enjoy their own company. Spending time alone can be comforting and necessary for their vitality, as it allows them to commune with their soul and to fill up their energetic resources, especially if they have an underactive or open root chakra or find it hard being human. Many starseeds find it more nourishing to retreat than to spend their time in meaningless conversations and relationships. However, we must remember that we're not alone in this life, and we're not here to go at it alone. Humans are pack animals, and we all need the love, company, and support of others, both emotionally and physically. In our increasingly online world, we can be connected to more people and yet feel more alone and isolated than ever. There's still so much we don't know about the energetic side effects of things like social media, with so many people knowing our news. What is it doing to our auric field? Commonly, we find ourselves in constant conversation, yet lacking the genuine connection of the physical community and touch. The main message of this card is to step out of your cave and physically reach out to those in your life, to replenish when you need to, but not to isolate yourself. This could be seeing friends and family who live nearby, or having a regular catch-up walk with somebody. In what ways can you open yourself to the people who are physically in your life? And yeah, I relate to this too, of course. Being connected, being somebody that recharges alone, there are definitely times when I need to hear that message as well. So I'm really glad this came through to the collective. Last one is a Moonology card. I'm gonna pick something at random. Right here, got it. So, this one is step out of your comfort zone. And this is represented by the North Node. Ooh. Step out of your comfort zone, which is represented by the North Node. So that's actually very, very interesting that this card came out. I've been studying the North Node a lot. So it's like the North Node is kind of where we are seeking to go. My North Node is in Aries. So for me, this is about becoming really, really independent. And a lot of the people that were born around the time that I am also have a North Node in Aries. That is something that I would encourage everyone to learn. If you pull your birth chart for free, you can actually learn what your North Node is. But having a North Node in Aries is about gaining independence and going further than you ever thought you could. And so I will leave it on that note of let's decide what we're working towards and continue working towards that. And know that you are enough, I am enough, we are all enough to achieve our desired outcome. So thank you for tuning into this, and I hope you have a wonderful October. You can look for more videos on my channel as it relates to the music and other things that are going on, and I hope to connect with you again soon. Thank you so much.